It's not finished. Thank you for watching. I'm a mod developer who would be interested in creating content for the game. And after playing extensively through Hytale, this video summarizes my thoughts on major game systems during the first few days of early access. Going fully blind into the game, my first impression was that of a very classic survival game. Different crafting stations that allow you creating different items and a very straightforward progression system. Find stone, make stone tools. Find copper, make copper tools. Then keep going with iron, thorium, cobalt, and adamantite. This is simple, but it works. And by going where you need to get the next material, you'll be facing challenges that work against your game. And you'll be able to find items that are good side grades to what you would otherwise be crafting, either dropped by enemies or from chests. The progression ending felt abrupt, but that was expected given that the game is in a very early stage. After reaching adamantite and figuring out that mithril is not in the game yet, you can either start building, which I did not personally do but my friends did, try and craft the more involved items like totems, or blindly try and complete the memory, which you do by encountering the different creatures in the world. I do not know if all of them are implemented, and if they are, that is absolutely impressive. But having to find them randomly starts being tedious after a while, and I wish there was a system in place to help with them. The memory system can be unlocked from a very work-in-progress hub area, and unlocks a few important crafting recipes, like teleporters. I can see a lot of players missing it early on, not knowing they are supposed to reach for the temple as soon as they join the world. That was my case. But to be fair, with it being marked on the map, it's probably just me being dumb, as the game was clearly trying to tell me to get there. What the game didn't teach me at all though, was zones and world generation. Going into the game, I did not know that the map was divided into zones, ranging from 1 to 4 in the current version. And this time, unless I missed it, this is not explained to the player. As a result, after obtaining iron equipment from Zone 1, I spent a while wondering what I had to do next, before heading to that weird border I saw on my map, with no idea if that was exactly what I'm supposed to do. Doing so, I entered Zone 3, entirely skipping Zone 2 by mistake in the process. The enemies felt right, and Zone 3 was close enough to my base that I could see it from the map, so it felt natural to go there. I do not know if the goal of the game is to give the player freedom on these elements, like you'd be perfectly able to enter the underground jungle in Terraria before defeating any bosses, despite equipment you can get there being stronger than anything you would find before, skipping a good 20% of the game's progression. Crafting stations can be upgraded to be able to craft Zone 3 gear without ever going to Zone 2, making it completely obsolete in that sense, to the point that I never felt the need to get there. Nor did I actually find it until wondering what I was supposed to do to get better gear than what I would get in Zone 3. And unlike Terraria, where there's a reason to get jungle gear and step backwards to defeat the early bosses without effort, I don't think there's a practical reason to go to Zone 2, unless you're looking for building materials or a completionist. Except maybe Chitin, but I'm not sure. Minecraft and Terraria, two games that I love, have similar design, where they can hardly be played blind. You will need input from another player, or guide to know how to spawn the wall of flesh, or create a nether portal in Minecraft. And even though the games have evolved to try and drop hints, like ruined portals, which could teach someone how to build a nether portal, realistically, what are the odds that someone will actually learn from them? Of course, there are some smaller features that can come with game knowledge, and are really cool to learn about, stuff like the blue axolotl in Minecraft, or how to obtain the Terra Prisma in Terraria. But those are optional things that the player will learn about and maybe engage with only after they've played the game a lot. Unlike the wall of flesh, they are not essential aspects of progression that the player might miss due to a lack of knowledge. Whether this is a good thing or not is up to personal preferences. Teaching the game to a friend can be fun, but having to do research on the internet or read a wiki to be able to play it definitely isn't for everyone. Outside of the zone's progression system, I love the biomes in this game. They all feel incredibly unique, and bring a welcome variety of environments inside of each zone. I could not find a single biome that I actually disliked, and it's clear that there's a lot of care that's been put in the environments. As a side note, it actually goes with everything in the game. Every creature is extremely lively, and a lot more endearing than what we can see in other games. Discovering a new faction or species from a structure feels really nice, and they give you clear places to farm for specific materials once you've identified what and where they are, which can easily be done without a guide. For example, should you need essences of ice, you should quickly notice that they are dropped by undead enemies in Zone 3. And if you stumble upon it, or go towards structures by looking at your map, you're bound to find a fortress with them. Once you do, you know that you can reliably farm for essences there, and this goes for the majority of materials in the game. The combat system in Hytale feels really good. Much better than what I could experience in Minecraft without mods. There are currently 5 main weapon types in the game, each of them having unique attack patterns, animations, and the playstyle that goes with them. There are significantly more in the game, like the 2 crossbows you can get, or clubs, which one of my friends obtained. And if you dive into the creative menu, you'll be able to find a lot more partially implemented weapon types that are really cool to check out. As you keep attacking with weapons, you'll charge an energy bar, which allows you to release powerful attacks that are unique to each weapon. This feels really nice in combat, but this energy also completely disappears if you stop holding the weapon, which will lead to a lot of these attacks being whiffed, especially early on. It does encourage a greedy gameplay though. Players will naturally want to charge and spend their energy instead of healing, for example, which I think is pretty interesting. Player versus player is also really nice in Hytale, and we had a lot of fun trying out each weapon against one another. Now for what I think could be an issue, or improved on. Maces have a directional attack system, where you can choose the direction of your next attack based on your movement inputs when clicking. This is super cool, but despite playing with a mace for a good part of my playthrough, I never found any practical use for it. Maybe it influences knockback direction, but does that matter? It would be amazing if it allowed you to hit around an enemy guard, for example, but the game parry system does not work like that. And to address the elephant in the room, if you've played the game and experimented with items, you may have noticed that currently, daggers are very strong. I'm not talking about damage numbers, as those are a matter of small changes, and I'm sure they're balanced around other weapons anyways. But the playstyle they have in combat, where you'll bounce back out of harm's way after each attack, made it so I basically stopped dying altogether the moment I picked them up. And it wasn't hard at all. Even if they were to deal half damage, you cannot die if the enemies can never damage you. They're also arguably the best mobility tool in the game at the moment, meaning that even if you prefer playing with another weapon, it's good to have daggers in your action bar just because they allow you to traverse terrain and explore much more easily. Now, I am unsure if this mega jump you can do by timing your inputs is intended or not, and as a player, it feels really good to discover, use and master. You can do it with swords, axes and daggers, but not with maces. And it is much better with daggers than anything else. To the point where it just becomes part of how you move around at some point. Is that good design? Should you be holding your weapon in hand at all times so you run faster? I am personally not a fan of this. Bows are also in a bit of a weird place in the game. It makes total sense for Hytale to have them, don't get me wrong. And compared to other weapons, they seem to have limited damage to compensate for their range. While using them actively in combat, they feel just right, as you'll get to manage your energy by pushing enemies away, and they will eventually reach you if you have aggro. But bows, or ranged weapons in general, can easily break games that do not plan correctly around them. A lot of the time, you will be able to kill an enemy without it ever noticing you, even from a very close range. And most fights can be cheesed entirely with a bow, without ever interacting with your enemy. These are what I would call flaws, and I hope they end up addressed to some extent. Combat is a big part of the game, and I wish it weren't so easy to cheese enemies and trivialize it without even trying to do so, by playing completely normally. And looking at Terraria, it's fun to notice how the game has the opposite issue, where melee combat becomes less and less viable because the game is balanced around attacking with ranged weapons all the time. And outside of a few exceptions, at some point in progression, melee becomes a ranged class. I tried not spending too much time on details, or things I know will get changed in the future. The underground of Zone 4 feels empty. Yeah, they added dinosaurs in there while I was writing the script. You can't see the character you've worked on because of your armor. They're adding the option to hide the helmet very soon, and so on. To me, Hytale feels like a canvas for players, modders, and the developers themselves, more than Minecraft ever tried to be. And the game as it is right now honestly feels like a playground made to be expanded by a bunch of different people. Weapons as they are, especially the work-in-progress ones, feel like something you'd see modders adding to the game. Things like totems and their weird buffs, or the strangely complex farming system, which one of my friends got sucked into, also fall under this description. The portals and keys system is a clear invitation to make mods that expand on it, and we're already seeing at least one of them doing just that. I'm very optimistic about this game. I've rarely seen developers so open to community feedback. And if they don't weave on the game themselves, modders will for sure do it for them, giving us plenty of ways of playing it in the future. If you've watched the video until now, you probably liked it, and please consider subscribing if you did, it helps me out a lot. I usually make Terraria modding content, but as you probably guessed, I would like to branch out to other games at some point, so let me know if that's something you'd like to see. Thanks to my channel members for supporting me, and thank you for watching.